Hello, everyone. This is Alexander Horat with the Free American Press, and today we're joined by a very special guest, Patrick Vieira. He's a macro analyst and commentator on global markets and commodities. Hello, Patrick. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Glad to be here, Alex. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. So we're definitely seeing a lot of big things happen since we last talked, namely the war with Iran. We saw Israel and the United States attack Iran, and Iran do some retaliatory strikes. So one thing we saw was gold and silver. It went down when the war first started, but now we're starting to see it go up. So I just want to get your predictions of gold and silver price for the end of this week, and if you think it'll go up because of this war.
Okay, well, end of the week, it should be minimum 85. It should be able to reach 85 for silver anyway. Gold, I got to check on the gold price, but at least another 50 to $75 it should go up. Reason why I say that is because, I would like it to go up more. I definitely would. But I think what we saw when the war first broke out, everyone, the expectation, because it was on the weekend, the expectation was, Monday we're going to see gold and silver really shoot up, and we did see a flash upward, and immediately it came back down after that, and a lot of us were scratching our head, what's going on? Why is the price coming down? And you got to remember there are two sides to every coin, where for you and I, expectation is the uncertainty is going to drive the price up. True, it should. On the other side of the coin, you have corporations, let's say businesses, where they're looking at it from the point of, the war is going on. We better sell off some assets. We better make sure we're liquid, these types of things. So on that side of the coin, they're selling, and that takes the price down a bit. But from our half of the coin, we're thinking it should be going up, which it will. Once things settle a bit, not the war, of course, that's still going to continue on. But once it starts to settle a bit, the dust starts to settle, and people and businesses see exactly where they are. I do expect it to turn back up again.
So how does this war affect Singapore? Has there been like kind of the global, because I know China gets around 13% of its oil from Iran,
Mm.
and it could even be larger than that. That's just official numbers, what that's saying. So, and Iran, of course, is not shipping any oil now because of the war. So I just want to get kind of the macro, uh, what's happening in Singapore, global position.
Yeah, Singapore here. Uh, things have gotten a bit more expensive. Expectations, the government is already telling us that, um, because of the if the Strait of Hormuz closes and oil gets a little bit more tight, you can definitely expect prices to go up. But I think generally, that's everywhere. Oil is in so many things. It's in clothes, your meds, your laptops, electronics. It's not just your vehicle. So
Right.
because it's in so many different things, it's going to touch you. It's going to touch us somewhere. And with Singapore, they are a refinery. So ships are going to come here still. They're going to drop off their oil. It's going to get refined here. Um, I don't exactly know what the contracts that the government has, with these companies are, where, maybe some oil stays put as it gets refined. What the deals may be. I'm not sure how it's worked out, but overall, I'd say Singapore is fine, but we are feeling, a bit of prices, starting to go up a bit.
So has gasoline prices gone up significantly in the last few weeks?
You know, I don't drive here in Singapore. Anybody who knows Singapore knows that it's expensive to own a car, but I don't know the exact number, but people have been saying yes, it's going up. Not anything significant, but they notice it's gone up. And what some people do, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'll say it anyway. They'll drive over to Malaysia and get some fuel there. It's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
So they'll cross the border and get some cheaper fuel and come back. But again, generally, it's still okay, but it's getting a bit more pricey. So I could imagine it's like that in a lot of places.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we've definitely been seeing a rise in gasoline prices here in California for sure. Uh,
Oh boy.
yeah, so back to China, we see that, they get a significant amount of their oil imports from Iran. How do you think China is going to react to this? Do you think they'll do anything to help Iran, or do you think they'll leave Iran to fend to themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question because China is still the real estate market is still, not the best. Uh, with the manufacturing side, of course, that needs oil. In fact, oil is the engine for every economy. So if I would imagine oil were to really get tight, you would have to you would have to, try and get oil some way somehow to keep that engine going for your economy. Um, how will they get involved? Hard from A to Z, it could be anything, but I think for right now they do have the intelligence ship in that area. I forget the name of the ship, but it is there. I think it's just right off the coast of Omar or Oman. I think yeah, it's off the coast of one of those countries. Sorry about that. It's just sitting there collecting, real-time data. That's the speculation right now, feeding intelligence to Iran. Um, and I don't know if it has even, some type of sonar capability where it may be looking underneath the ocean, see if there's any subs there to try and track it. Nobody really talks about that part. So, maybe they can do it, maybe they can't. But um, you would have to, I suspect, participate somehow because you're heavily invested in the energy that is there. Again, it's your engine. So I wouldn't I would just label it as any country would probably have to get involved somehow, some way to secure what's in their best interest.
Yeah, that makes sense because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe like 20% of the world's oil comes through the Straits of Hormuz, which
Hmm.
are closed currently. So that could definitely create a big problem. One thing I saw historically, we know in World War II, Japan attacked America because we closed off all its oil imports. So we're kind of starving the country. So they decided go to war and attack Pearl Harbor to claim all those oil-rich islands and stuff. So,
Right.
do you think we could see the same thing happen to China because of that, or do you think that's pretty low that China would go to war with the United States?
Oh, that's another good question, Alex. I think they understand if they get too heavily deeply involved, we're going to have a full-blown world war. There's no getting out of that. So I think what they're hoping is if if they show the world that they are showing some restraint, I think they're hoping that, the world will also start to show some restraint. But within that, you also got to remember, the US still has that petrodollar deal where they are supposed to protect the other Middle East countries. It's why they've been there since the 70s. They made the deal with Saudi, if you get your friends to buy oil using only US dollars, will help protect you. So that's why you see the US bases in some of these countries. They are meant to protect these countries because of that deal. And you know, it uh it, it's starting to fall out now, where, being there, is it a good idea or not a good idea? Or, what's going to be the repercussions now because we've seen Iran shoot, missiles over into their brethren's countries. Uh that is a bit concerning, a bit alarming as well. And so if you're China, I would imagine you'd be telling Iran, hey, don't don't shoot anything at your friends, at your brethren. Don't be shooting anything there because it's going to make it a lot more difficult. People who should be your allies, you're going to turn them into your enemies. And I guess it's the same with the US. People who should be your allies, you may turn them into your enemy is a hard word, but they may not be as supportive of you as you'd like. I think, for instance, when you look at the whole UK supporting the war, they weren't going to do anything. And then it was only okay if it's a defensive type of a posture, okay. And now it's okay, we'll send some, you know, some armament there. And but with the Strait of Hormuz, everyone needs it to be open. The West needs it open, the East needs it open, US, Europe needs it open, China needs it open. So it's in everyone's best interest to keep that place open.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So, do you think this conflict is going to be a short one? Do you think it's only going to last a couple more weeks? Or do you think it could spiral into a much longer conflict? What's kind of your thoughts on that after looking at all of the data and stuff?
Yeah, it's another good question. I For me, I see it already spiraling, already unraveling. I think it's starting to, you know, get a bit broader than maybe what the hope was for. But let's just say, even if it stopped today, even if it were to stop today, I think you still have a maybe an even larger problem where what now if you're the US? What now is your relationship with the UK? What now is your relationship with Canada still? Um, what now is your relationship with maybe even Mexico? You don't know what's going on there with even the cartel, and if they are really truly ruling the country. Because when I look at things, if Mexico should decide to join up with Canada and, let's say, walk away from the US, that's big trouble for the US. If Mexico should also, let's say, side with we're just saying it for conversation purposes, but China the same way Canada did, that's big trouble. Huge trouble for the US. So for me, the war is one thing, yes, but I think it's the aftermath, the way the chess pieces are going to be realigned. Who's still your friend, who's kind of a iffy friend, who's gonna ghost you. And so I think that might be equally as a big thing to watch.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, just looking at a historical perspective, the reason why we went into Iraq, the United States, was because they had weapons of mass destruction, apparently. So we sent boots
Mm,
on the ground. We attacked Iran. We removed their leader, of course, and they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction.
yeah.
So, do you think history will repeat itself? Do you think we could see the U.S. send boots to the ground to Iran, or do you think this will largely remain? Like a missile war.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to put boots on the ground. Um, Ultimately, what we're being told is this is meant to be a way for Iran's people to get freedom. Um, Mark Faber, I spoke with him the other week. He told me everyone who likes their government, he said almost everyone doesn't like their government. So I guess in some ways, is that a reason to go in? Maybe not. But I know there were bigger things going on there. So, it's it's all about oil. I think it was meant to, get a stranglehold on oil, as you mentioned, because China does use a lot of oil. I've been on record for saying we've been, or we are, in a resource war. We've been in that resource war for a while, and you're going to see the East trying to pull as many resources as they can. You're going to see the West trying to pull as many resources as it can, and ultimately, I think that's where we are. And in that, I do think you're gonna see, boots on the ground. But we have to hope this thing doesn't really get too far out of control. And that's probably the immediate concern.
Yeah, so how high do you think oil per barrel could go in the coming months?
Triple digit for sure.
Wow.
I think in the coming months we're gonna see triple digit oil again. We're gonna see triple digit silver again. I think we're gonna see gold at that 6,000 plus level again. Um, because ultimately the fundamentals never changed, Alex. It's still the same. Silver's still in a deficit. Supply can't keep up with demand. Central banks are still buying gold. Platinum is still even in a worse deficit than silver. None of these things have changed. So the fundamentals, they will come back around, and it's just unfortunate that right now these physical metals, they are controlled by a paper market. And that's got to end somehow, some way. It needs to stop.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So, how is the situation in Singapore when it comes to gold and silver? Are people able to get it, or is it pretty hard to get right now?
It's There is gold and silver here now. You can go to the shop and pick up some gold and silver. It's still tight though. There are minimum amounts where maybe you have to buy at least 2,000 or $5,000 worth in order to place an order. Um, but what I'm seeing is, from a business point of view, what businesses do here, the bullion dealers do, they have the silver, but it's sold 90-95% only for storage.
Mm,
So, you can have maybe 10,000 ounces of silver in inventory, but 9,000 of it is only for storage. And the reason is these dealers, they make money from the storage revenue. So it's a business. So that's what they'll do. But on the other hand, the other side of the coin, you see a lot of people aren't happy with that. They have money, they want to go buy some silver, some gold, but the bullion dealers, they're only allocating a small amount for the walk-ins, and the rest are for storage. So but it is here. I think it's but as fast as it's coming in, it's leaving again. So we'll have to see if the orders can be placed, and if it's going to be another 4 weeks or 8 weeks for it to come back.
yeah, so for the storage, how long does it have to remain in storage until you can pull it out if you want to? Is there like a minimum, like has to be there a month, a year, or something like that? Or does this have to stay in storage indefinitely?
Yeah, typically, the shortest I see is maybe like 6 months.
Mm,
Of course, if you need to, you can pull it out before that. But a standard one is somebody will buy their metals, and then with it, they have an option if they want, 6 months of storage or 5 years of storage, so they can pay that up front as well. But you don't see too many guys uh who will buy it and then want to remove it from storage in like a week or two. You don't see too many of those, because typically if you put it in storage, you're in a different country. So
yeah.
yeah, you won't pull it out. And if you're a local, um you you'll well, you're here, so you can you can leave it there. You're fine.
Oh,
So
that
not
makes
not too often we see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a question about this war again. Do you think this
Sure.
war could be like a shield for them to change the US currency into a CBDC? Because we've been hearing like eventually the United States is going to go digital and change the currency, get rid of paper bills and stuff. Do you think this war could be kind of a shield for them, like to change it like at that time, or do you think that's coming at some later point, or not at all?
Yeah. Alex, my first instinct is to say no,
Okay.
but no, no, no. But through time, as time goes on, and if the conflict goes on, people start to feel the stresses, economies start to tank, liquidity starts to tighten up, all of these things come into play. Yes, it could. I think then you're going to have people who are in need, maybe in trouble. Financially, they're going to be struggling, and here comes the government to say, okay, let us save you, and here it comes. So it could, but I think that's another danger if this thing should continue. I would say, yeah, you'll see it roll in.
Wow. So how do you think that would look like once they actually put that into place?
I think once they put it in place, like I say, if people are out of work, the economy is not doing good, recession, stagflation, all of these things, government's going to have to do something to keep the people afloat. So something like, open up have a bank account, an electronic account. Will go ahead and we'll give people vouchers. Or if you have a mortgage, let's say if you have a mortgage, we're going to give you a voucher,
Mm.
so that'll help people with homes and whatnot. Or um, they'll find something to give that so-called helicopter money. And the only way you're going to be able to get that helicopter money is if you have some type of bank account that is linked digitally. And it's it's an open door for them after that. Once everybody is banked in, then why wouldn't it come in? CBDC for sure would start to roll in.
So are you seeing that happening in the East as much as because in America, I think they're starting to make the plans to do that. But what about in the East,
Yeah.
like China? Have they done that? Is Singapore starting to wanting to put in a CBDC? Like what's kind of like the status of that?
Yeah. Uh, Singapore has always floated around the CBDC. Well, I should say, yeah, I guess I could say that a digital currency between bank to bank anyway. They were floating around, the digital transactions. Um, China, they already have, that whole social credit scoring system thing going on that's already there. Uh, they're not necessarily calling it a CBDC. I forget the term they're using it, but almost every transaction in China is already digital. And once it goes that way and there's less cash in hand for people, it becomes difficult because you let's say you're a diabetic and you have no cash, but you're feeling a bit off. You go to a 7-Eleven, you need to get a can of Coke, and you give that can of Coke to the clerk. And the clerk may say, oh, sorry, Mr. Vieira, we can't sell this to you. Now you have no cash. You can't buy that Coke. Why can't they sell it to you? Because somewhere down the line, as we have all these lobbyists, let's say insurance companies, they lobby the government and they say, healthcare is getting too expensive, da 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 da. We need to limit these things, da da da. Which then means as they look at, your health record, okay, yeah, this guy shouldn't have sweets or whatever it is, this, that. So because you got no cash, you can't buy it.
Uh,
And you try and give your digital ID or whatever, you're on this list where you know you you're not allowed to have sweets, sorry, but you might be a diabetic, you might need that sugar, your levels might be off, or same thing with gas. You got a limit every month. You go over that limit, you're going to get heavily taxed on it. And everything's going to be tracked and watched. And it's I don't think it's going to be a good thing.
I agree with you. So we're already seeing that happen in China, what you described.
Yeah, in China it's more like um pretty much a lot of things are tracked. So if you were to put like a social media post, um, and some people don't like it, it can come back around. The way they put it is, your kid may not be able to go into one of the more prestigious schools, or you may not be able to travel, or whatever it is. They'll find some way to shape you, to conform you. When I say they, I don't mean, let's say, only China. I mean, when this whole CBDC comes in, uh, we're all going to be reformed, reprogrammed to what a government wants. And even simple things like trying to watch the news. AI is going to let you know which news you can watch, which news is going to be approved, which news do we put in Alex's feed to make sure he's a good citizen. So uh, it's a very controlled type of system that's going to come in.
Wow, that's pretty scary. Um, so I guess my next question is back to the Iran conflict. Iran is part of
Mm.
OPEC, right?
I don't think so. That's a good question. I gotta check that. I don't think, maybe they were. I'm not sure, but
Because
okay, that's a good question.
I'm just curious what you think OPEC is going to respond to this war in Iran, like how they're going to respond with the oil price, because it's a monopoly. They run
Yeah,
most of the oil wells in the world, so they can kind of set the bar wherever they want to. So I just want to get your thoughts on OPEC.
yeah. That's an interesting question because if let's say OPEC were to raise prices, a country now like the US, they're an exporter. They can export oil and undercut OPEC, and if they wanted to. And we did see that in years past. And Saudi got pretty pissed off with that, and so they started to uh hit the US economically. And so I think if OPEC were to raise, um I think naturally it'll raise anyway. And I think we're all going to pay the price through inflation. Just things will get higher. And I don't think the US could really bring it down too much after that because, if you bring the price down, like I say, your friends aren't going to be happy. OPEC will be, hey, we're selling it at $100 a barrel. You're selling it at 85.
Yeah.
You're undercutting us. Everybody's buying from you instead of us.
All right.
So yeah. So I don't think I think it will go up, and I think every exporter will kind of have to stay in line with that. So it's no getting around it.
So I did look it up. So Iran is a founding member of OPEC. So
Oh,
I,
there you go,
I don't
founding.
know.
Okay.
I don't know the sway, how much of a sway Iran has on the rest of the OPEC, but they are a member. So one thing I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned the petrodollar. Do you think the
Yeah.
United States could lose dominance of that and it would be replaced by a Chinese or a Russian or something completely different?
It's a good question. I think they are already losing, that the influence that the dollar has. I think they're already losing it. It's still alive. I do think it's still alive, but they are losing it. You go back a couple years, Jerome Powell said there can be more than one world's reserve currency. Okay, he said this. He said it a few years back. So first level, you would think, okay, U.S. dollar and renminbi or the Chinese yuan. You would think, okay, it'll be those two. But I think what we're going to find is it's going to be a basket of currencies and probably even commodities because you think about it. If you're the BRICS nations, okay, why are you trying to de-dollarize? Because you're getting sanctioned. It's hard to trust the U.S. dollar, whether the government or the money printing too much of it. So it's hard to trust it. So you want something that, let's say, the West can't easily print. So maybe you'd like a basket of some commodities, let's say, and they're looking at gold. But the West also has gold. So what other commodity could the BRICS have that the West doesn't have? And I look at platinum.
Mm.
And it's because Russia and South Africa, they have the most of the platinum throughout the world. And they're both BRICS countries. So if I'm the BRICS and I'm going to, bring out a basket of commodities, let's say to back the currency, I'm going to throw platinum in there, and platinum is something the West cannot get. So now I have a leg up on the West.
Oh, that's true. So you think platinum is a pretty strategic metal then?
Absolutely. And you don't hear many people talking about this. Maybe because I'm the only weirdo who thinks about these things. I don't know. But I think that's ultimately it because the US has a dollar that nobody else has or can get except from them. So if you're the BRICS, well, okay, what can I get that nobody else can have except from us? That has a utility and a use and could possibly back a currency. And so if gold, then why not platinum? So I would look at that.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. Platinum used to be more expensive than gold, so
That's right.
it could be undervalued right now. Do you like
That it, yeah.
do you like palladium as well?
I like palladium, but I think I'm pretty certain you're going to see platinum really start to make a move. I'm pretty certain it's going to be this year. You're going to see palladium trying to keep up, but I think it's going to get left behind a little.
Mm.
And then there may come a time where, if platinum gets too expensive, there's what we call demand destruction, where it's just too expensive to use that metal in a certain product. And it could be filled with palladium. So then you may see palladium start to pick up the pace. So it's going to be interesting between those two metals. So I think gold that's the rock. It's steady. Silver is volatile, but I'm beginning to think it's just because of comics and these other guys. That's the reason why it's volatile. But then you got platinum as well, which kept up with silver all of last year. So I think it'll do it again, and I think it should make a move, outpacing silver and getting back on par or close to par with gold.
Wow. So going back to this Iran war, if we see
Mm.
it like evolve and become a much wider conflict, if this is the start of World War III potentially, like I'm not saying
Oof.
it is, the likelihood of it is probably pretty low of that happening. But who do you think the main players are? Who do you think is going to side with the U.S.? Who do you think is going to side with China and Russia? Like India has been a piece of connotation for me because I don't really know which side they're going to choose.
I and I think that's fairly smart of India to not show their hand right now which way they would go, because if they lean one way, they may lose friends that they could need down the road economically. If they go the other way, they may get sanctioned, or or whatever it is. So I think India is smart not to show its hand, really show its hand right now. But your question is a good one, because maybe 2 years ago you would have said, okay, on one side you're going to have the US, the UK, Canada, but I don't know about that now. It I'm just not so sure the way these pieces are getting realigned, because for whatever we hear in the media on the table, you can be assured that there are deals under the table that we're not going to know about. So what deals are all of these countries making? And
Right.
that's a tough question, because the people that you could definitely count on that were going to be there, I don't know if they will be now. Yeah, so and they're probably thinking the same as well. I don't know if I can count on this guy anymore. So yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a shock for a lot of people when the United States killed the supreme leader over in Iran when
Mm,
the United States and Iran were still in negotiations. It just doesn't really make sense to kill their leader when you're in negotiations with them, but that's just
yeah.
my thought anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's part of it, because that drives in speculation, where if you and I are trying to cut a deal, I would assume we are wholeheartedly trying to do it. And then if something happened outside of what neither of us wanted, then maybe something else outside is happening. Maybe there's a third party getting involved that, you know, it's not going with the playbook. I don't know, So uh it's I think you're just seeing people looking out more for their own interests. I think you're seeing people, countries using one another right now, all trying to jostle themselves in position for when you truly have regions, because I've said before also, globalization is dead. It's going to back up into regionalization. So this region, you're going to need your friends, your allies, your resources, refining capabilities, all these things. And same with this side. And then you're going to have some type of trading currency. Now, what currency will they trust from you? And what will you trust from them? What kind of currency? And I think that's why we're going to go back to some kind of a metals, basket of metals.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on that. Gold and silver are definitely a good hedge against inflation, and they're used for manufacturing and stuff as well, so they have
Mm.
value there as well. So I wanted to ask you, did you want to tell the viewers a little bit about your gold and silver depository?
Yeah, sure. I'm with a company called Octus Metals. Octus is a Latin word for growth, and that's what we do, is where, you know, a lot of times what we see happening is people will buy gold, they'll put it in a vault, and that's it. It just sits there. They'll buy silver, it sits in a vault, that's it. But especially what we saw last year, where silver and platinum definitely outpaced gold. If you had stayed in gold, you didn't get the gains you could have got. And so if had you moved into silver, or had some type of portfolio management or someone looking out for you, they would have switched over and recommended to you, hey, you know what, it's time for you to move to gold, or move your gold to silver, or whatever it is. So it's what we do at Octus, where we actively manage portfolios now, for precious metals, because it I think, the more people know about it, the more they're going to realize, hey, I don't have time to watch what's going on every day, all day. So I don't know when I should move. And then there's spreads to deal with. So for us, this is what we do. We take care of that. We even have an algo that it has 50 plus metrics that it runs through
Mhm.
constantly. Okay, metals are, this metal is more value, this metal is more value. Yeah. So we kind of go through these things, and we just help to help people with to get the most gains that they can, or optimize the metals holdings. Depository, it's in the Freeport in Singapore. So it's a very safe place. A lot of big people and big names keep their things at the Freeport area. So it's a good place to be.
And Singapore is a very neutral
Yeah.
country. They stay out of all this fighting and stuff.
Yeah. And that's a good thing too, because with Singapore, it's in their best interest to look out for Singapore. I get questions all the time, Patrick, if the US and China should get into a war, which side does Singapore take? And I tell them, you're forgetting there's a third side, Singapore's side. So I tell them, you Singapore is going to do what's best for Singapore. They're going to, that neutrality is it's going to be there. They can't really. It's not in their best interest to shade too way over on one side or the other. So they'll be fine. I think Singapore is going to be able to maintain that neutrality.
Yeah, and I wanted to share Patrick Vieira's X account. So he has a lot of great information. I follow him. He has a lot of great posts that he does a lot of good information with his videos and stuff. So definitely you should follow him on his X page. And then you can also go to patrickvieira.com and you have an email mailing list, right?
Yeah, that one is just simply it's where I work, Patrick at octismetals.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So that that website, oh boys, I haven't touched down in a while. I've been that was when I was looking to go more independent, but because the guys at Octis, they gave me a slot there. I'm more with Octis, they're more in line with the business.
And then we also have his YouTube channel, and you interviewed some great people like Peter Schiff. So I think definitely a very informative video to watch. And then Mark Faber, of course, Lynette
Mm.
Zhang. So you even interviewed Ron Paul before. So you definitely have interviewed a lot of interesting people.
Yeah, thanks. I've been I guess blessed would be the word that these guys actually, gave some time and wanted to share their opinions. So and even guys like you, you're doing, what needs to be done, to get the word out. Um I think a lot of good info, you know, it does get suppressed. It doesn't get found, and we need more guys like you, and so hopefully uh there was at least one thing I've said in here that could help you out.
Oh, what you've said has been really informative, and I really appreciate that. Is there anything else you'd like to add for this video, Patrick?
No, I think just make sure you take care of yourself and your families. Stay the course. You're going to see a lot of tree shaking going to continue with the metals, but ultimately the fundamentals have not changed. If anything, they've gotten stronger. So just stay the course, and I think things will turn out to your liking.
I definitely agree with you, and I'd just like to thank you, Patrick, for coming on the show again and providing all this great information on these subjects. And I would just like to thank the viewers for watching. If you could please share this with as many friends as you can, that would be great, so we can get the word out on all this stuff that's happening today in our world. And just thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day.
All right, thanks, Alex.